What up, guys? What up? What up? I am Lou. Again, guys, today got another video. I'm going to be showing y'all about how to extract, how to split up a column into two columns, and how to, just kind of show you an option, right? There are different ways to do it, but I want to show you how to do this, of course, in Python, because that's what we talk about here, Python. But how to split it up. I'm going to use pandas. It's actually not that complicated, to do. So kind of gonna walk you through the process, and so if you're dealing with data, there's no doubt you're gonna have this issue. Eventually, you're gonna have this issue. But nevertheless, just want to make a video. It will be quick, and hopefully it helps y'all out, guys. Guys, before we get started, you give me a like, give me a follow, man. I appreciate it, and let's get started. Alright, guys, so I have a folder already set, and I just, what I call this, just Python extract column, and I have this sample file, right? So let me open one down. I guess I could open it, default text editor. There it goes. So just so we can take a look at it, when you look at the file, let me make it bigger. Very straightforward, man, nothing special, but I want to show you what we're dealing with here, right? We have full name and then age. So we have two columns. We're dealing with a CSV file, but what we're about to do could be implemented in Excel as well. Doesn't matter. And then, as you could tell here in CSV, normally when you have these kind of commas that separate a value, it's put into double quotes. That's why you have double quotes here. But nevertheless, this is all one value. This is all part of this one column here. Right, so this is considered all one value, and then this is the second value, right? Because we got two columns. What we need to do, though, we need to split this up. And so like a lot of the projects that I have dealt with, when it comes to ETL processing, like healthcare data, for example, this is a pattern of format that's very, very much exists in healthcare. That's where I see it all the time. I have worked in logistics and other, when I look at someone's client data in that industry, it's always first name, last name. But healthcare, that's not the case. Somebody decided, hey, it needs to be last name, comma, first name. So it is what it is. But nevertheless, we want to split it up, and we're going to create its own columns as well. So let's go ahead and get started and walk through that process, and I'll kind of explain as well as we kind of go through it. Again, like always, guys, create a virtual environment, man. Always create a virtual environment. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm gonna do Python -m environment. So let's get that installed, and once it finishes, let's go ahead and activate it. All right, cool. So now I'm gonna go ahead and activate my environment. Again, guys, scripts, the name of your environment, scripts if you're using Windows, bin if you're using Linux or Macs, and then of course activate. So just kind of keep that in mind. Alright, cool. So now that we have it activated, let's go ahead and we need to install one package. So there's one package that we need to install, which will be pandas. So let's go ahead and do that. Pip install pandas. It'll install a few packages because there's other dependencies related to pandas. So let's give it a minute. It'll be done any second. There it goes. Boom, we're done. Cool. Alright, so now that we're done here, I have my environment activated. Let's go ahead and I'm gonna create a file. Let me just call it extract py. Okay. So let's go ahead and bring in what we need, right? So ultimately, as you can tell, this is the file that we're going to be reading. So I'm going to read that file. We're going to do our extraction of that column to two columns. And then I'm also going to show you placements. You could rearrange your placement. You don't have to add it at the end of the list. You could add it in the beginning. So we'll kind of walk through all of that. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in this case, my bad. It will be import pandas as PD. Import OS from pass lib, import, pure pass, and I think that should be it. Yeah, this should be it. All right, cool. So one of the things that I'm gonna do, I'm gonna have a root pass. Then let's call this file name, right? So we know the file name already. The file name is what we have to the side, which is customer list CSV. Now for the root pass, we're going to do os.pass, absolute pass, and then we're going to do file. Now, keep in mind, what this does by default, it will give us the full root pass, but the actual file that we're running it in, which would be this guy, extract.py, right? So what I'm doing here though is, because I have my file happens to live in the same section, this is where I'm going to, on the outside of that value, there will be another function. In this case, it would be the ospass.directory name, right? So it's going to take this full root pass, which happens to have this file name. So if I hover, see, it's kind of hard to tell. See where it says C code sandbox Python extract column, then extract.py. Well, what this is doing here is says, okay, give me everything except the file name, which is again my full root pass for where I'm working right now. So that's just what I'm doing. Just again, sidetrack, but hopefully that if you're new to programming, hopefully this kind of gave you some insight to how these absolute pass and directory names functions work. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to build our full directory pass, and this is where we're going to use pure pass, because again, pure pass works awesome for any operating system, so strongly recommend to use this going forward. And then it's going to be our root pass, and then of course file name. Alright, so now that we have that, now what we're going to do, we're going to read our CSV file, and we're going to end up putting it to a data frame. So if you're not for sure what a data frame is, go ahead and Google it, give you more insight. But think of it as, just kind of try to keep it basic and simple. A data frame is kind of, think of it as an Excel sheet, right? So a lot of people, you're familiar with Excel or Google Docs, where you have rows and then you have columns. And then ultimately you could, you have a header name that you could add, or by default it's column A, B, and C, and D, etc. So a data frame is it's a two-dimensional format, so think of it being the same manner, but it just put it into memory, and it makes it very, very robust and easy to access and to kind of manipulate on the fly, right? So think of it as a visually like a spreadsheet, but from there you can do all kinds of programmatic stuff to extract and to transform and to view and analyze whatever you please, however you please to do it, right? So that's kind of what it is. So let's go ahead and put our CSV data into a data frame. So this will be panda read CSV. Here's the thing, it makes it very, very simple, right? So if we take a look at it, the first thing that it wants is file pass. So I'm going to provide my full directory pass, which again, it is the root directory pass plus my file. So it's like the full complete deal, right? And just kind of show you, let me just go ahead and print. And as you can see, this is my full directory. It's a full root pass plus the file name. So, and again, I'm kind of going sidetracked a little bit, but I know there's a lot of new people that are watching. I get emails from some of y'all, so I'm trying to also kind of help out the people that are new to programming. Alright, so the next thing that we're going to bring in is going to be, I'm going to have my data type be string. I don't think it matters in this case for what we're dealing with on this data set, but I'm doing it because I'm kind of giving you some examples where it does matter. And you don't have to make the whole file string. In some cases, you can just make the column and reformat it. But some of the issues that I have had in the past is when I'm dealing with integer values, like an Excel is a good example. I'm extracting Excel file. It's an integer value, a whole number. But again, in Excel, there is no integer value. It's more like decimal or format. But either way, the way it shows up on my data frame, it's whole number dot zero. So it's like, okay, it's not integer. It's a float, right? It's a decimal value. In order to kind of avoid that, you can make it, this is one option, right? To make all of your columns, all of your data sets, all of your value string. Another example, when you're dealing with zip code, where you're in certain areas, I believe this is in the East Coast, you have leading zeros for your zip code, start with a 0. Well, if you load that into a data frame as a number, float, for example, it is going to, or integer, it doesn't matter, but you load it to one of those data types, it's going to actually remove the leading 0, and you're going to have 4-digit zip code, which is not right. So again, those are little things that when you deal with data more and more, you come across as being issues, but eventually you find out solutions, right? That's what we do. We figure out, we find solutions to these problems. All right, cool. So now that I have my data frame, one of the things I'm going to do is kind of, again, going back, I have a what's called full name. That's the name of this column here. So just kind of show you how this looks, let's go ahead and run it, right? As you could tell, we have our first column, which is full name, then our second column, which is age, then you have this index, which tells you 0, 1, 2, right? So that's just kind of how it looks, at least, you know, just kind of give you a visual. What we're going to do is we're going to take the full name. I'm going to pretty much take that column and we're going to split it. And we're going to put it to this new object called full name. So it will be data frame. In this case, it would be full name. Then we're going to apply a function. Is ultimately what we're going to do here. And it's going to be lambda. What the hell? Go away. All right, cool. And I'm going to call this full name. And then it's going to be full name split. It will be comma space. All right. So let me make it a little bit smaller because it's kind of big. There it goes. A bit better now. So what we're doing here is we're taking, think of it as kind of like in Excel. When you're familiar with Excel, you can have a formula. A good example would be when you do a formula in a pivot table. You apply it once, but then you apply that formula to all the rows of that column in the pivot table. That's kind of what this is doing. We're calling a specific column, then we're going to apply a function. The function is to do a split action to that value, but we're applying it, it's iterating over, and you're going to apply that to the whole list of values in that column. So just trying to at least give you a simple idea, a simple example of what it's doing. And then ultimately this is going to be the results from that is going to get assigned to this. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to do a, since this is going to be a split, so again, let me go ahead and print it out so you kind of take a look at it. My bad, it's a object, that's why we can't see it. So what we can do is I believe index 0 maybe. You know what, I'm gonna have to iterate over. There it goes. So my first row, right, my first row, kind of going back, see how we have Smith John? Well, now what it did, it took this value and put it into a list object. And the first index placement is the last name, right? This is last name, this is first name. So this will be index 0, index 1. Right, so that's pretty much what it's doing there. So what I'm going to do now, there's a few ways to add it to a data frame. One way to add it to a data frame would be literally to do something like first name. And let's kind of go through, you know, let's walk through this example because I do want to show you this. And then it would be full, it would be full name, again, apply, because again, we're applying a function to this. And again, the way the function works, it iterates over, right, your column. So that's kind of what we're doing here. It'll be lambda. I want to call this first name. First. It will be first name. You know what, this is right. First name. You know what? This is not. What am I doing? So this will be full name. Full name. Index. My bad. First name is actually index 1. Index 0, the last name. So we're going to do index 1. Alright. And then let's go ahead and print out the data frame again, right? You're going to print it out twice. So if you could tell when we look at it twice, this is how it looks normally, right? Full name, age. When I look in the bottom, we have full name, age, then we have first name added to the end. Okay. But let's say in my case, I don't want to add it to the end. But let me rephrase it. If you do want to add it to the end, just go ahead and do what I did here, right? We're going to just kind of, you're creating a new a column by specifying the name in your data frame, then assign the value. And this would literally create a new column and apply the value to the column. But let's say you want to determine the placement, right? Because what I'm going to do, my ultimate goal is I'm going to remove full name. I don't want the full name no more. I'm going to remove it. And then I'm going to add in the beginning where it's first name, last name, then age. Age is going to be at toward the end of the columns. So because that's what I want to do, what I'm going to do here is, let me go ahead and take this. I'm going to do a data frame insert. Then I'm going to specify my index, right? See how it says integer, you know, the location. So I'm going to be specifying my the placement, my column placement on where I want this to get inserted to, which is, again, in programming, 0, it's the starting point, and then 1 is, you know, the column after. And then you're going to specify the name. Well, what am I going to call it? I'm going to call this first name. That's going to be my header name. And then my last value, which you can say here, it's the value. It's going to be this, my function that I'm passing through, which is full name, apply this function, which is ultimately getting the value from index 1. Is going to apply it to this insert. And again, this would be for first name. So now let's do the same thing, but this time for last name. So it'll be index 1, last name. Let me go ahead and copy this. This though would be index 0, because again 0 is the last name. Last name. Alright, so now that we have done that, the last thing that we want to do now is we want to drop full name column, right? We want to drop it. We don't need it no more. So in order to do that, we're going to call DataFrame drop, and then we're going to specify full name, because that's the column that we want to drop. The axis, so in this case it's going to be 1. The reason why it's 1 not 0, because 0 is our index column. If I go back, see we have 0 here and 1. This is our index column, so this is our axis is 0 for this, and then it will be 1. So you know, that's what we will specify. And then we're gonna set in place to true. Okay, so that would drop it, and let's go ahead and run it. Let's take a look at it, see how this looks. Ooh. Oops, I have it in here twice, my bad. So this is not needed no more. Let's remove that. There we go. So see, this is the original, how it looks. Then this is how it looks now. First name, last name, age at the end. All right. So once we drop it, the next thing that we're going to do here is I'm going to save this DataFrame to CSV, right? So I'm going to end up saving this to a file, export it out. So I'm going to call it kind of the same name that I had before. It will be customer list extract CSV. Alright, so there's a few other arguments we need to specify in here. Like, so one of them will be index. Index, I'm going to say none. So what does this mean, index none? Index none means if I don't specify this, this index is going to stay here. You're actually going to see that in your file. The header will be blank, and it will have value 0, 1, 2. Now, if you want that, that's fine. But if you don't want that, you want it to kind of mimic the original file, right? So then you're going to do index equal none. All right. The next thing that we want to do is we want headers. We want to include the header name as well. So if you do not want headers, make this false. But if you do want headers, make it true. So that's the other thing, right? So now let's go ahead and run this. Boom. See how it generated another CSV file. So now we take a look at it. We compare the two. Let's compare the two. There it goes. As you can tell, the original one, first name, age. The new one, first name, last name, then age. And we were able to put the first name in the beginning, last name in the second column, and then of course age to finish it off. So it's really not that hard. I mean, when you think about it, it's not that challenging. Pretty straightforward. I mean, ultimately what we did here is the only package that we needed is pandas. And then of course we read our file, which is what we did here. And then we end up extracting, we pretty much end up applying a function of full name, which is to split out the names, right? In this case by column and space. And then from here we have this full name object. And this is what we end up using in our other functions to kind of pull out first name and last name. That's it. After that, we dropped the full name column because we don't need that no more. And then of course we export it out. In your case, maybe you don't export it out. You could, maybe you load it to a database, which you could, do that as well. There's an option here for DataFrame to where is it? SQL, there it goes. Data to base to SQL. So that's another way to, if you want to load it to a database. Excel as well. Excel is in here. There you go. Excel. So it's up to you, right? How you want to export it out. But again, guys, hopefully this helps. I'm going to be making more and more videos. I have it on my schedule. I'm actually, for the month of July, one of my goals is I'm going to be making a video every day. Every day. Some videos, I mean, hopefully every video is beneficial. Maybe some may not be as much. Some videos may be me talking about code, not necessarily me coding. Maybe talking about some kind of new features of Python, things of that nature. But nevertheless, guys, that's my goal. I'm going to be hitting it hard for the month of July. Hopefully you like it. Let me know if you have any if you need help with anything. Take a look as well at my calendar schedule. If you need any one-on-one meetings, be more than happy to meet with you, give you some guidance, help you out if possible. Again, guys, thanks for watching. Give me a like and peace.